Alright guys, hello, welcome. I got up kind of late today because I was trying to figure out my first commission, so I stayed up doing that. But anyway, today I'm starting off a new series, which is Learn with Rhoads, me. We're starting off with Hiragana in Japanese. So I actually teach Hiragana to kids online. I want a bigger brush here. But I teach Hiragana to kids online. Well, I actually teach Japanese to kids online. But usually the writing system is where people start to get really overwhelmed. And it's so early that they kind of just quit Japanese altogether because of it. But it's just like the alphabet. You just have to memorize it, and once you do, you don't even think about it. So we're going to go over Hiragana first. Hiragana is used to represent sounds in the Japanese language. So a, I, U, E, O. That is our main line, most important line. So starting with a. Let's see, where do I want to draw it? Do I want to do it in the middle? Yeah, I could do it in the middle. Alright, so doing a horizontal line like this for a. And I'm using the calligraphy pen, so it looks a little nicer. And then I'm going to do a line going down the middle of it, so it's going to look like a lowercase t. For this next one, it's all one stroke. So that's something I guess I forgot to just say. So in Japanese, they have stroke order. Now you don't have to do things in stroke order as long as the end result looks exactly the same. The only way that stroke order is important is if you decide that you're going to be a calligraphy artist. That's when it's important. But otherwise, it doesn't really matter. So for this one stroke we're going to do, we're going to start right here under our horizontal line. We're going to come down, cut through, and loop around. Or ah. Ah. Next is I. So this one we're gonna do what kind of looks like, I guess, a check mark or a hook. Like that. It'd be a backwards check mark, I guess. So more of a hook. Then we're gonna do a little line like that off to the side here. And that's it for I. Next is U. So for U, we're gonna do a little dash up top. I'm gonna bring it a little higher. There we go. Now this next stroke is gonna look like we're doing a half of a heart. And that's ooh. What am I? Okay. After U is gonna be E. The way we start E is gonna be the same way as we did U. So, the dash up top. I'm gonna do it there. Now this is all one stroke. It kind of looks like a fancy Z. So we're going to start right about there. Over, down, and loop out. 𝘿. And then the final one in this line is 𝘿. So for 𝘿, this one looks kind of similar to our 𝑎. So it's going to be the first one that might be a little hard to separate when you're memorizing. But we're going to do that horizontal line. I'm going to bring it a little higher for me. There we go. Then, all one stroke, we're going to want to cross through it like a T, like before, but when we get to the bottom, we're going to go out and loop around. The loop doesn't have to be this big. That's just my handwriting doing it. Because if you look on some fonts, it's actually quite small. But I find it easier to do it large. And then last bit is a tiny little dash off to the side here, slightly under our horizontal line. For 𝘿. So now switching to a slightly smaller pen. Alright, so what we got is oh, let's do it nicer. 𝘿, 𝘊, oh, come on. 𝘿, 𝘿. So our first line, 𝑎, 𝑖, 𝑢, 𝑒, �o. Everything that comes after this, all we're doing is adding a consonant to the beginning, but we keep the same way that we say it. So for example, our next line is the K line. So if we add Ks to all of this, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. We're still saying 𝑎, 𝑖, 𝑢, 𝑒, �o, just adding a K to it. So that's how you're going to pronounce all of these characters. And this is super important for later. As I go on with these lessons, if I say something about the E line, I'm talking about this, not the E line over here. I'm going to be using the way that they sound to refer to them. So if I say E line, I'm talking about E over here, that one. Because when we start conjugating verbs, we're going to basically be using all of this. Like each conjugation is going to use one of these. So just a heads up for you guys. All right, so as I said, we are going into the K line. So ka. So this is one that I don't do the stroke order for. But again, write it how you think would fit best for you. After I do mine, I guess. All right, so we're gonna do a slanted line going down. Then in the middle of this is where we're gonna go. So about here, we're going to cut horizontally and curve it down with a little hook at the end. And then a little dash out here. Now you want to make sure that these dashes that we are doing, so including our E, these dashes are long enough to separate from 10-10s that we'll be doing later. And you'll see that with the K line actually. So we'll be coming back to ka for this. Yeah, it is kind of like an H. There's actually another character that I think is more like an H. Next is ki. Ki, we're gonna do a slanted horizontal like that. I'm gonna lower it just a little bit. Below that, we're gonna do a slightly smaller one. Just very slightly small. Then cut through it. And a tiny little hook in the right corner there. Let's put it on this side. Ki. Next is ku. Ku is all one stroke. It's kind of like the end of an arrow. Like that. So if you were to just add a line there, it would be an arrow. All right, next is ke. Ke is an interesting one for me because when I was learning Japanese back in high school, someone watched a video of like this bizarre person saying how they learn hiragana, and I remember the ke example really well. Well, let's go ahead and draw it. So, slightly curved vertical line here. Next to it, we want to do a horizontal line, not all the way at the top where it lines up, just a little bit below. And then making it into a T that's slightly curved as well. So the ke example I remember is, let's see. It was a YouTube video that they were explaining, saying that this person said the way she remembers ke is, this looks like a priest holding a staff. But what does that even have to do with any of this? Well, what is what in Spanish? It's ke. So that one, it's so bizarre that it just sticks. It's weird. All right, next is ko. Oh yeah, I guess it does look like it. Capital I and a T. Yep, I see it. All right, so ko, we're gonna do slightly curved horizontal. And then under that, a slightly longer curved horizontal. The way I actually write it is I make this more into a hook, this bottom part. So more like that when I'm writing it in my own handwriting. You'll start to get your own handwriting as you go through this, and as long as it looks like the character, they'll be able to read it. Because I'm going to show you how there's one that I just go super fast with, but people can still read it. Japanese people especially can still read it. But all right, we have gone through ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. Now, I'm going to tell you a little trick. Or not a trick, but let me write them out again. Ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. So you can see there's my hook that I usually do for it. All right, so this is where we're gonna have 10-10s. Now, what are 10-10s? They are what have our Ks turn into Gs. They go in the upper right corner like this. They're just little dashes. And so if you see this on our K line, now they're Gs. We got ga, gi, gu, ge, go. So that's why we want to make sure that this line here in our ka is long enough to separate it from being ten-tens. I actually don't know if they're really called ten-tens. My Japanese teacher in high school called them ten-tens, so that's what I've been doing. But I think they are, because my Japanese teacher currently said it too. So I'm just going to say that it's correct to call them ten-tens. Now, not every single line gets ten-ten treatment. There's only 23 characters that change this way. So you don't have to worry too much about it. Oh, there we go. So our next line we're going to go over is our S's. Starting with sa, which is going to look very, very similar to our ki, except it's missing just one line to it. So, slanted horizontal, or slanted line, I guess. It's not really horizontal, just slanted line. Then we're gonna cut through it. And add the little hook in the corner for sa. Now the next one, you might think, oh, it's C. No, it's she. S-H-I. A long time ago in Japanese history, it was C. But Japanese has become a very fluid, flowy language, and C is a really hard sound within a sentence. Like a hard sounding one, not a hard one to make, just hard sounding. So it's softened out to be she. This one just looks like a fish hook. Just that. Next is su. So we're going to do horizontal line. Next one is all one stroke. We're going to cut through it about halfway. We're going to loop out and come down. So there. It's like a pregnant T. A pregnant T. For su. Next is se. So for se, we're going to do horizontal line. On the right side here of our horizontal line, we're going to do a line going down through it. Then we're going to come over to the left side and have what looks like an L going through it. And then our last one for the S's, soul. Now soul is going to be a special one, and you'll see after we finish this first part. So I'm gonna scoot it over to this side a bit to show you. So this is all one stroke, where it's gonna look like a Z and a C, I guess, put together. So zigzag over, down this way, and add our C. So that's all one stroke there. Now, the reason why this one's special is because there is another way to do it. This is the way I was taught. It was kind of recently that it became this way, I would say. Or I guess maybe not recently. If we assume 20 years is recent, then that's recent. The way I do it is, or the way I was taught, dash like that. Or I guess I should do it a little clearer there. So this is the way that I draw 𝘊. It's how I was taught. So the only thing they did to modernize it is combine our little tick that's up here with the rest of the character. So it's now all one stroke instead of two. You can still see signs and things like that in Japan that still have this way of doing 𝘊. So if you were to still write it that way, people would know what it's supposed to be. All right, so now we got our 𝑠a, 𝑠hi, 𝑠u, 𝑠e, 𝑠ol. This is our S line, which get the 10-10 treatment. When they do, they become Z's, except for 𝑠hi. So we have 𝑧a, �ji, 𝑧u, 𝑧e, 𝑧𝑜. It's G because if you were to say Z with like a Japanese accent, it would sound more like G. 𝑧a, �ji, 𝑧u, 𝑧e, 𝑧𝑜. All right, next up is our T's. Starting with ta, or I should just ta. So we're gonna do a horizontal line. Let's move it a little over. And we're gonna create what looks like a lowercase t. Or a cross. It could also be a cross. Now in this corner here that I'm circling, we're gonna put what looks like a 𝑘. And that is ta. Next is chi. So again, same thing as what happened with 𝑠hi. Used to be T, but it has softened out to be chi. So for chi, we're going to do horizontal line. This next part is all one stroke. We're going to cut through about halfway. We're actually going to loop out with it. Okay, next it's gonna be 𝑡. So this one, very similar sounding to our 𝑠u, but it's a very slight difference. So 𝑠u versus 𝑡. So we're kind of saying the T. We're like slurring the T into it. 𝑠u versus 𝑡. You'll get it with practice. So don't worry too much if you're not able to hear it or do it. This one is going to be kind of like that fish hook 𝑠hi, but on its side. I'm going to make it a little fatter, I think. Just never happy when I draw my sus. But oh well, I'm gonna leave it at that. Could also be a backwards C, I guess. But a lowercase c. Next is te. So for te, we're gonna do all one stroke, horizontal over, come back just a bit, and curve out. Till is kind of a tough one for me. It looks ugly every time I do it. But let's see. So tol is last in this set. So for tol, we want to do a small vertical line. It's going to be very small. I guess we can go a little slanted. Vertical line that's a little bit slanted. Then about here is where we're going to start the next line. We want it to line up with the bottom of that line, basically, but a little bit slanted up. So about there. We're going to come through like that. I had to kind of match it because it didn't actually. There we go. So we want to make sure that it attaches to that line that we brought down. For to. So this one is a C with a little line. Okay, so we got ta, chi, tsu, te, to. Are T's, which, oh come on, when we add 10 tenths to them, they become D's. It's always going to go in the right corner there. So we got da, except our chi. Our chi also ends up sounding more like a G. Ugh. Let me write these out first. So our chi and our tsu, those are kind of rare to see. I think I've only ever seen it twice while learning Japanese. Probably because why would we do a chi with 10-10 if we could just use shi instead? Same sound. But there are words that actually do have it. And then this one, our tsu, that one's very rare too. I saw it maybe once. So da, ji, du, de, do. So it sounds more like a French number, de. And then I also want to show you a little special thing that our tsu has. Let me think of a word for it though. Okay, so the word that I'm thinking of, it's actually for katakana, but I'm gonna use it as a hiragana example. So, se, do, se, do. So here I have a small tsu. The small tsu is only ever going to be half. Small characters are half. So if we imagine that they're all in boxes, right, this only gets to about half of that box. So this, we don't say the tsu when it's half. What this does is it tells us that the character after it is going to be a double consonant. So when we say this, there's going to be a slight pause when saying it because we're going to be saying that consonant a little harder. So setto, setto, setto. Like I'm putting a lot more emphasis on the T, which causes me to pause just slightly to do it. So that's what our little 𝑡 does. It just gives double consonant. Because if I do another one, let's say de. So de, ki. So what comes after our little 𝑡 is ki. So we do double ki. So deki, 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 deki. So saying that a little harder. Yeah, so these are actually katakana examples, which means this is for the actual word set and this for deck. But we'll get into that later when we cover katakana. All right. Oh, whoops, I did it on the wrong. That's okay. All right. Next set is the ends. So na first. There we go. We're gonna do a small horizontal line. Then cut through it, like kind of more like a plus sign than a T. A bit below a horizontal line, a small dash off to the side here. And then directly under that dash, all one stroke, we're gonna calm down and loop. Na. Okay, next is ni. We're gonna do vertical line. And right next to it, we're gonna do what looks like a ko. And that's ni. I guess if we were to turn it, it kind of looks like an actual ni. Maybe. Or we can imagine it like if I were to draw another one here. Now it becomes a ni because of the little wrinkles. Huh. Ooh. All right, this next one is a little tough. So nu. It's a weird one. All right, so we're gonna do a slanted line down that way. Let's move it slightly over. Next line is all one stroke. We're gonna start about the same level as where we started this slanted line. So from here, we're going to cut through it, loop around, and loop again. Lots of loops. You can make it maybe smaller, like that. And that's nu. There is another character that looks almost exact to this, just without the loop at the end. Same with the next one, ne. Ne, there are two others that look like it, but the end is different. So ne. Gonna do line. I'm gonna move it just a little bit over. We're gonna do a zigzag motion going through this line here. So starting right here. Over, down, we're gonna come back up and loop at the end for ne. So it's like we did a 7 plus a 2, a loopy 2. Last one is no. No. This one's nice. It's all one stroke. We're gonna start, I guess I'll start here, come down, and loop around on itself. When we're going down, we're slanting down a bit, as you can see. And that's our ends. Na, ni, nu, ne, no. Ends do not get the 10-10 treatment, so they just stay ends. Which is nice. But our next one has double sounds to it. And next one are the H's. Ha. First. So, vertical line down. This is gonna kind of look like our ke. It's gonna look like we're drawing ke, but small change to the end. So, horizontal, not lining up at the top there, just a little below. Then coming down and looping. So that's really the only difference, is that loop at the end, which can be however size you want it to be. So ha. Next is he, which kind of looks like a horseshoe to me. All one stroke. We're gonna go up a bit, then loop down and out, and like that. So it could either be a he or maybe a cursive U. Next is fu. So saying it as fu, but some words we are going to slur it a bit and it's going to sound like hu. So it could be both fu or hu, depending on what word we're actually saying. Oh. Fu. Okay. So for this one, this is another special one, kind of like so, where they did change it over the years. So the modern way of doing it, all right, so you're gonna do a dash, small dash, I guess, and then what looks like a tsu, almost, a tiny tsu. That's below our dash. On the left side here, we're going to do another dash that curves in towards that bottom part, or the middle, I guess. And then we're going to go to the right side and do the same thing. So that's fu. I absolutely hate doing this. I guess if I learned it this way, it would be fine. But the way I learned it was this. That's the fu I learned. So with the modern version, they did the opposite of so. Instead of simplifying it by keeping it together, they have separated the top from the middle. Okay. Next is he. He is pretty easy. It's like a lopsided roof of a house. If you were to draw a house. So like if I drew the rest of the house like that. He. And last one of this set, ho. We're gonna do vertical line. This one's gonna look very similar to our ha. There's just one extra line added. So this time we are gonna do a line that lines up with the top of our first stroke. Then we're gonna do another one under it and put in the line with a loop for ho. I'm gonna maybe space it out just a little bit more. Alright, so ha, hi, hu, he, ho. Let's write them out again. Ha, hi, hu, he, ho. Also, the reason why it's fu/hu is we do soften the F sound, right? It goes into that. But when we spell it out, we're gonna spell it out as hu. Ha, hi, hu, he, ho. Okay. So these are our H's. Now they can get the 10-10 treatment. If we do the 10-10 treatment for all of them, I'm just gonna put it over here. Yeah, I'll keep it like that. So if we do the 10-10 treatment for all of them, they become B's. So ba, bi, bu, be, bo. But I told you that there is another one it could be. Now if I add open circles in the place of where our 10-10s usually go, these, I'll put it just above. These become P's. Pa, P, Pu, He, Ho. So we got two different sounds that come out of our H's. Our H's are the only ones that have this. So any other ones that have 10-10s after this will not have this open circle. Like the open circle is only here on the H's. Though I don't think we have any more that do 10-10s. Let me double check here. Yeah. So this is the last set that has these changes. So our next one is the M's. Oh. Ma. Ma, we're gonna do a horizontal line. A little bit below that, slightly smaller one. Then we're gonna cut through and loop at the end for ma. Next is mi. This one looks like another type of fancy Z. So all one stroke here, we're gonna start here, go over, down, loop. Then down here towards the loop, we're gonna do a line that slightly curves in towards the rest of our character. Oh, the next one is the one that I draw very messily. when I'm writing. But I'm gonna do it nice for you guys here. Oop. Moo. Oh, my eye is itchy. Okay. So we're gonna do horizontal line. I'm gonna move it slightly over. All one stroke here, we're going to cut down through it. When we get towards the bottom, we're gonna loop, and then we're gonna come down with that loop and over. And then a dash right there. So if you end up having very messy handwriting, again, as long as it looks close, it's gonna be okay. Because when I write fast, the way I write moo is like that. So it looks more like a su with a long tail. But Japanese people can still read it. And they still say my handwriting looks nice. They might just be being nice, because they are very nice people. Next is me. So this is the one that's going to look very similar to our n. So doing that slanted line there and wanting to start right up there for the next part. So coming down, cut and loop. So only difference is we're not adding that other, like it's not looping out again. Because if we do that, that's a ne, or a nu. If you find that hiragana is a hard set of characters for you to draw out because it's a very curvy and loopy type of writing system, then you'll be glad to know that katakana is more angular. So there are more angles and edges in it. And last, mo. So we're going to do horizontal line. Below that, another horizontal line. And then we're going to cut through it, and it's just going to look like we're using a she. So looking, again, similar to our ma. Except we're not looping, we're going out with it. So this next one is actually a half set. It's our Ys. Now the reason why they're half sets is because a long time ago in Japanese history, they did have more sets. Oh, hi Kiwi! Welcome! I ended up missing your debut. I'm sorry about that. I ended up sleeping in and missed it. Like, I saw the post, I think, 40 minutes before you went live, but I wasn't out of bed until, like, another hour. But I'm glad you made it here. Let's see. Alright, so yas. So long time ago in Japanese history, it used to have 5 characters, just like all of our other sets we've been going over. But, over time, other characters replaced them. I don't have an example because that happened a while ago. I do have an example for the next half set that we have though. So starting with ya. So for ya, we're gonna have what kind of looks like a hook, but going slanting and up like that. Then over here at the end of our hook, above it, we're gonna add a little dash. And then towards this end over here, we're gonna have a line that cuts through. So that is ya. Next is yu. So we are skipping, as you can tell. We're skipping what would have been probably yi. But I'm gonna assume that e replaced it, because yi is very close to just saying e. Oh, let's put it over here. So yu. This one here is all one stroke. We're gonna come down, back up, and loop around. So let's see, what is it? It's like a backwards fish, maybe? If I were to like extend this down, it would be like a fishtail, a goldfish tail. All right, and then our last part is doing a curved line that cuts through it. Then the last one for this set is yo. So skipping what would have been ye. Which, actually, I might have an example of that one. So ye, ebisu. In some spellings, it looks like yebisu. Now that actually never was a thing. It's just people who were trying to translate Japanese thought people were using a ye sound when it's just an eh sound. But maybe a long time ago, it could have been. Who knows? But yo. So for yo, we're gonna do a small little dash, small little horizontal. And then we're gonna do a line that needs to touch the left side here. Starting up here, down and loop for yo. Now there is some special uses for our Ys that I'm going to explain now. So let's see. So let's write them out again. So right here, ya, you, yo. And as you saw there, so the this and this is proper stroke order, but you saw I did the line loop first. All right, so these are our Ys. So the special thing with these is they can be small characters. So again, the small characters are going to be half of a box if we imagine them in boxes. So if I do she and then a small ya versus she and a big ya, we say these differently. So this would be sha, this would be shi-ya. Sha, shi-ya. So when we make our Ys small, we slur them or combine them with the previous character, which is usually going to be in the E line. So I can do this for all of the E lines. If I want to say nya, like a cat, nya. Or this is going to be in the line that we talk about next. It's our R's. So this would be ryo. So again, you want to make sure that they're only about half the size of the regular hiragana when doing these. When we get into katakana, there is even more tiny characters we can do. Which I'll explain why when we get to them. But let's move on to our next set. We're almost done here. So R's are the next one. When we say the R's, it's kind of like a flip R, where we're gonna roll it, but we're not gonna roll it as much as Spanish. So it can sound like an R or an L. You can go both ways, a flip R. So starting with ra. So for this, we're gonna do a small little dash. Then we're gonna do basically the second stroke that we did for chi. So all one stroke, starting a little bit below, going down, loop out. Okay, next is ri. We're gonna do vertical line. I'm gonna make it slightly smaller just so it fits my window. And then next to that, a longer and slightly curved towards the bottom half here. Ri. Next is ru. You'll find out that within the same line, there is another one that looks exactly like it. So ru is maybe a fancy 3. So we're gonna start going cross, slant down, curve out, and loop. So that was all one stroke. Maybe it's like a 7 and a 2. You can think of it like that too. So kind of like our other 7 and a 2, but this time stacked. Next is re, which looks very close to our ne. We're gonna do line going down. Let's make it a little straighter. So doing the zigzag motion again, started in here. So going over, down, back up, and loop out. Instead of in and around, out. So a 7 and an N, maybe. Next, the last one in our R's, ro. This one, as I said, is going to look exactly like our ru, except no loop at the end. So over, down, and that's it. We stop there. Our last set is the W's. So this one actually only has 2, but one extra character got added on just because it's kind of a lone character on its own. So they decided to just put it into the set so that it's like 3 characters, like R-wise. But it is not a W. That's okay. So our first one is wa. This one's gonna look like re and ne. So line. doing the same zigzag motion as we did for 𝙿. But when we get to about here, we're going to come and curve in. Instead of going out or looping with that, it just curves in. And then the last one for W is 𝘿. So we skipped a lot. Again, most likely other characters replaced them. And we're actually seeing that with 𝘿 as well, because we now pronounce it as 𝑜. The word otaku, which is, it's not actually a good term for nerd, but I guess nowadays it's being used kind of like how nerd wasn't a good term a long time ago, and now people are embracing it. So otaku used to be wotaku. You can actually see it in a manga title too. Wotaku no koi? Oh man, I forgot the actual title of it, but something like that. Alright. So, wo or o. So a small horizontal. Then we're gonna do what kind of looks like a slanted H maybe, or like a lopsided, or no, just an H with the long tail, I guess. Then we're gonna do a C that cuts through it for O. And then our final character that got added into our W's, just so it wasn't lonely, is So just a lone N sound. This one's the one that I said looks more like an H. A nice cursive H. And that is the hiraganas. So only thing that I will also explain, I guess, because it's explained in the katakana that I'll be doing, but for hiragana, let me think. I need a good example for this. What's a good word? Cake. We'll do cake. So cake is also one that's actually supposed to be in katakana, but I'm gonna use it as a hiragana example. So, ke, ki, ke, ki. All right. So for cake, we actually make the sounds longer. Keiki. So ke, keiki. Oh wait, I actually have a better example. Let's not do cake. Let's do sensei, because that one is actually... There we go. Then, say. So when we say this, we're not saying sei, we're saying se. We're using the e to extend the sound for e, which sounds kind of weird, and there are going to be times where you're not sure if they're doing that or not. But as I was saying, I was going to use cake as an example too. But that's katakana. In katakana, there's a nicer way of doing it, but it's kind of the same thing. If I were to do it in hiragana, it would be ke. I guess for this one, we might actually do an e sound, because otherwise it doesn't quite make sense. Ke, ki. So here, our ki is being extended, but we're actually saying the E sound because it is an E at the end. But up here with sensei, again, it's an E here and an I, so E is what it turns into. This just comes with like practice about knowing vocab and words and things like that. So don't worry too much about it, but if you do see it, just know that this is a possible option with reading it. Okay, let's see. Are there any questions over what we went over? Because we have covered all the hiragana characters. Then, oh, where's my phone? I don't have my phone. Because I think I might have time for going over katakana, but I feel like that's a lot to go over in a stream. Because, let's see, I do have worksheets from my classes that I do, because I use the Genki workbook. Oh, my opening up Google was not a great idea, but that's okay. I'm gonna get the link for it for you guys. So I use the Genki textbook for this first part, at least. That's what I'm gonna do. Let me get the worksheet for you guys. If you want it yourself, you can definitely get it off of Amazon. Genki, 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 Hiragana, Genki, here. There it is. Share, copy link. And now I'm gonna close out of that. Oh, okay, there we go. Control V. Oh. Control V. Nope. Control V. Wait, no, maybe it's down here. Control V. There we go. So that there is the link to the worksheet if you guys want to work on it. Or if you just want an excuse to do stuff. It's not official homework for you, but I recommend at least practicing, maybe making flashcards and things like that for this, because it is going to be all about memorization. It's exactly like how you learned the alphabet, through memorization. It's a lot, because it's 46 normal characters plus 23 of those additional ones when we add the 10-10s or open circle. So it feels like a lot. But I promise, once you memorize it, you're never going to think about it again. It's going to be exactly like how you read English. I would say work on one line a week to try and memorize it. Yeah. But if there's no other questions, and this is a short stream, which is fine. I like short streams. The next study with me is going to be on katakana, which I also have a worksheet for. So katakana, that's used for foreign words. Like, for example, pan, that's for bread. It's Portuguese for bread. Now, a lot of people say it's Spanish. It is Spanish, but specifically for Japanese people, it's actually Portuguese. Because a long time ago in Japanese history, they were only open to Portugal for the longest time. And you actually see this in a show called Shogun, which is kind of cool. Now, things in Shogun are dramatic and not accurate to history, but they do have things that are historical. So it's a cool period piece. What was I going? Oh, another fun fact about the whole Japanese and Portuguese thing is if you ever see a dark-skinned character in anime, and it's not said where they're from, they are most likely Portuguese. Like Chad from Bleach. He's Portuguese. So, yeah, they're either gonna be Portuguese or I guess Indian, because if you watch 𝘿𝙊, there's a darker skinned girl that says she's from India. So it'd be one of those. Just some fun facts for you guys. I might do another stream today later on for gaming. Because whenever I do short streams like this, I feel like I need to do more. So after doing some more commissions, I will come back for another stream. But thank you all for stopping by, lurking, chatting. I appreciate all of you. And as I said in a comment before, I also appreciate views outside of streams. Numbers are numbers, right? Like, I don't care if they're during stream or afterwards, as long as I'm reaching out to the people I eventually want in my community. But again, thank you so much, and I might see you guys later. Oh, and yes, I will update and put that link into the description as well, since sometimes I don't see the chat when I'm like rewatching my stuff. But anyway, thank you. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.